Hey, John, I'm not sure if you're speaking yet, but we can't hear you if you are.
Sorry, everybody. Oops.
There you go.
So I want to welcome everybody out to our final session at DEMOFEST. So we've got a fantastic panel lined up for everybody today. Thanks for joining. And honestly, thanks for joining every session so far. This has just been so much bigger and so much more successful than we had initially anticipated. So we started off just thinking we want to start creating a great place for content for those people in pre-sales who we can reach, and we set some modest goals, and we just kind of blew it all out of the those all kind of went by the wayside probably the first 2 weeks that we announced it, because it turned out that there was a lot more interest than we had thought. So thanks everybody for coming and participating as attendees, as presenters. And in this session we've got as I said, we've got a fantastic panel. We've also we want to give away some stuff, and so we've got quite a lot of stuff to give away, including some of the best some of the best pre-sales content and tools that you're going to find. So we're going to have some material from our presenters that they're giving away, as far as books and courses, and there's an opportunity to win some seats of consensus as well. And then we've got some other just tchotchkes that we want to throw out there. So we hope everybody enjoys that. You can kind of see a list of things that are on offer. So what you want to do is you want to visit the chat section, and in the chat section, let's see here, just make sure that we've got this.
Taylor just posted it.
There we go. All right, Taylor has just posted in the chat section our form where you can some people are very resentful of the fact that link was not forthcoming immediately. So that link is to the form where you can sign up for the raffle and get in on that drawing. So I want to pass the time over. Well, first I want to introduce just briefly our panelists. I think everybody, really probably all of you need no introduction because you're just so big in the community already. But we've got John Kerr with us from Mastering Technical Sales. We've got Peter Cohen from The Second Derivative. We've got Julie Hansen from her book is Acting for sorry Acting for Sales, is fantastic material. We've got Garen Hess, who's the CEO of Consensus. We've got Kevin O'Brien from SAP, who gave our opening keynote, and Don Carmichael from Winning Skills, and who just really appreciate all of your participation in the conference so far. I don't want to talk about John. I think I got John.
Oh, you got John already?
Yes, yeah. You got me to start with.
Great.
All right, fantastic. So I want to hand it, so I don't waste any more of everybody's time, I want to hand everything over to Garen. And
Great.
Garen, you can kind of launch into our session.
Great. Let's go ahead and just stop the screen sharing here so we can just be sharing the video so everybody can see the panel participants. So thank you all panelists for participating, and everybody has the link to enter into the raffle. We're just going to dive right into this. The topic today is just anything on pre-sales, and I'll lob a question to one particular panelist at the beginning, and then we'll spend maybe a few minutes talking about that, and then we'll move on to the next question. After about 20 minutes or so, we'll start taking your own questions. So please put your questions in the Q&A area, and we'll get through as many of those as we can. And we'll continue posting some of these questions in the Scaling Presales LinkedIn group. Incidentally, this session will be recorded and posted in the Scaling Presales LinkedIn group, so you may want to go join that group. John could post a link to that group in the chat in case you want to join while we're participating today. So let's get started out with the question: what do I do when a sales rep or customer insists I deliver a demo without enough discovery? And this one I'm going to pass over to Kevin.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's, you kind of lob it into the classic pre-sales challenges of all time, and that kind of hits it, right? Pre-sales people run into this all the time, and the best approach I've seen, I'm sure there's many different approaches out there, but the best one I've seen is to essentially get other people engaged in helping you solve it. And that specifically is the sales leadership or executive leadership teams. And just get an agreement, just like you would spend money in a budget. You get that sales leadership to say, hey, look, one of the most valuable resources you got out there is pre-sales. We've got to have a way to spend it. We got to agree on how you spend it, and then have that sales leader communicate that to the salespeople. And if they don't agree to it, ask them to go get an exception from their leadership. But the one plug I'd put at the end, and I put it in my keynote, so maybe that's why you lobbed it to me, is that we often now solve this with, if you have an intelligent automation demo available, you can encourage the sales rep to send that out. And if they get any hits on people watching it or forwarding it, starts to qualify for itself, and maybe at that point you do engage.
So you get some initial qualification there. What do you think, the rest of you on the panel, when a sales rep asks for a demo, haven't done hardly any discovery, what other ways can we handle that?
I would say that's a great preventative measure that Kevin brought up, and absolutely having a strategy in place to how you're going to handle those situations is vital. But in reality, it doesn't always work out, right? So
Correct.
what do SEs do in that awkward situation that comes up more often than not? And that's also having a strategy for that, acknowledging that's going to happen until we find a better solution, and having a method to deal with that. And one way, and again, there's probably many, but one way that I found very successful is to share a menu of topics that are appealing to other people in that role, and letting the customer sort of guide the demo initially, and then sharing an informal customer success story, a high-level example of that tool. So you're at least somewhat tailored at the beginning, and then trying to encourage that customer to have a discovery conversation so that you can further tailor that. And I know in great demo, we call it a vision generation demo, and it's just a great way to kind of turn the tables on the conversation and get the information you need to actually deliver a more tailored demo.
So it's really on the fly quickly. John, you want to jump in with something there?
So they're great responses. Absolutely think you ought to do that, particularly the menu of common pains, right? I think you also need to take a step back and actually do a little bit of discovery around why this one salesperson wants you to do a call without discovery. And is it something that's systematic with that one guy or gal, or is it something that an entire group does? If it's just with one person, I think that can be addressed individually. If it's something that's a little bit more systemic, then that's really a job for SE leadership to figure out with sales leadership, and not putting the poor old SE in the position that, hey, the demo's at 1 o'clock tomorrow. As I think Tony put in the chat, the customer loses out if we don't do it. Well, I'd say maybe the customer loses out if you do a completely unfocused demo, because you're basically guessing about what the heck it is that the customer wants to see. If you're a single product company, then yeah, you could probably get away with an almost zero discovery demo. If you have a wider and broader portfolio, which most of my clients do, you're guessing, and no SE ever wants to be guessing. So figure out why it's happening, and then I think you give it to your leadership to go sort it out, and it's above your pay grade.
Can I add in as well that
Yep.
So there's a thing you can learn, which is Agile Discovery, which is really encompassing what's already been said. Start off with, Peter would say, start off with the last thing first. Start off with a wow, earn the right to do some light discovery, and basically, as Julie said, work your way through a menu of kind of insights, that are going to be applicable to that persona of the industry, and see, try and find out. The other thing you can do, and this isn't condoning doing any kind of demo without discovery, there is what you call the no discovery, which is at a minimum, and when a lot of pre-sales people don't do this, check out, the person you're going to speak to, especially virtually these days, check them out on LinkedIn. Find out, like how do they articulate their role? And normally they'll say something about, how do they How do they believe they create success? And then second, that can, 90 seconds. Another 90 seconds, go to the website, and a lot of bigger companies will have an investor relations part to it. Go and find, go and have a look at anything like a year-end report, and normally on the second or third page will be something like a mission statement, or it'll be a simple phrase that the CEO uses repeatedly, like we're all about simplifying our processes or doubling growth, whatever it is, and you can feed that back to anyone who's kind of even moderately senior in the buyer. If you use that phrase back to them, what does that mean to you? You can have a really great conversation, because they go, wow, okay, that's how we drive our business. And it took, what did it take? 90 seconds to find out about them, 90 seconds to go and find out what their mission statement, their driver is.
Yeah, so you're able to reduce the chance that or increase the chance that you're at least in the ballpark of what they're interested in. Yeah, Peter.
So 3 things. First of all, I want to support what Julie said. The menu approach is a terrific self-rescue technique. Number 2, we teach something called vision generation demos, which is to provide just enough demo, if you will, and it's actually a single screen or 2, no live software, to satisfy the customer's desire to have something from us, but is a gentle and firm way to move into discovery. But the third approach is looking more at the cure. And that is, if you're working with sales reps that are, let's say, junior or less experienced or less seasoned, given that sales folks typically don't want to take advice from pre-sales, it's just the way it is, what you do is you reference and you say, Carol, who seems to consistently make her numbers year after year, one of the first things she does before she organizes any demo is that she does what? She organizes a discovery conversation. And I don't know about how, she manages to make her numbers, but you're holding her up as an example. So you're saying, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job because I'm not in sales in this particular case, but let me tell you of somebody who does consistently make her numbers, and this is an example that you may want to contemplate following. So that's sort of the cure approach, if you will. Hope that helps.
Good. Let's jump into another question here. There's been a lot of talk in this conference about automation, which, that's our main focus as a company ourselves is demo automation, but it remains, it kind of points to this question of how much of an SE's job can be automated, or maybe should or should not be automated. So Don, why don't you take a crack at that one?
The timing of that, because I've only just finished a session where we actually talked about that for quite a while. So this is one of these yes and no things, which is, so on the kind of demo side of things, you're quite clearly in your kind of materials, your content, saying that you can automate demos in certain stages, but there are times when you shouldn't do that. And, humans still sell to humans. The automation thing isn't just about demos, though. We were also talking about the fact that there are now tools there that can automate part of your RFPs, or kind of things like security questionnaires. And also we were talking about there's now tools out there which can provide a chatbot interface on top of the knowledge base that you're using for your RFPs. And if you're clever about that and can think big enough, you could actually not just expose that to your internal client-facing team, but actually give it to potential buyers, so they can actually chatbot, because people do want to do that, and ask questions of your own, internal knowledge base. So these things can be automated, but in the end, people sell to people, and you want to have some kind of, especially as you go higher up, the spend, or higher up the complexity, or there's a more complex kind of buying or solution environment, it's still got to be people. Still got to build some trust. I've got to be able to look you in the eye and go that if I do this stage, if we give you a purchase order, we're going to create the success and the outcomes that we agreed, aren't we?
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really helpful. In the interest of time, I want to try to limit maybe the additional comments to each question to maybe 1 or 2. In this case, let's just take one more comment on this. Any other panelists want to comment on this question about what should or shouldn't be automated? Yeah, John.
Yeah, I'd love to. I spent quite a bit of time talking about the 2024 and the 2025 sales engineer, and I think the future is amazingly bright for the sales engineer over the next 4 or 5 years, because the low end part of the job, the boring stuff that we typically have to do, is going to get automated and it'll be taken off our plate. So RFPs, RFIs, low end demos, presentation creation, design, things like that, they vanish. We get into the cool stuff. I have some clients. There's one on this call right now who's experimenting with the virtual reality experiential demos and holographic technology to do things. Is that not a cool thing for an SE to want to play with instead of messing around with Google Slides and PowerPoint, right? So yes, it's automation is a good
Audience
thing.
went crazy.
Bring it on. I say it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. In one of the decks that I have, we have an Iron Man suit as a way to show what the future will be like for sales engineers. So let's jump into another question. What's the most important skill SEs need to develop in our current world? Most important skill. Julie, how would you like to answer this one?
Gosh, I think SEs bring so many skills to the table in terms of technical ability, and they're good listeners. I think in this time that we really need to work on our connections and being able to connect with the customer, because all the product knowledge and technical ability in the world isn't going to matter if your customer isn't listening to you. So how do we connect with them? How do we make sure that we're not just showing them what we do, how we do it, why we do it, but we're also in every customer facing interaction, we're working on building that relationship and reinforcing it. Because as we've talked about in many of the sessions, and I'm going to talk more about, automation is taking over many of those pieces. So those moments when we do have a chance to get with the customer, we need to really be strengthening those relationships. So working on those connective skills, whatever that may be in terms of conversational skills, emotional intelligence, how do we present ourselves on camera, all of that whole package.
Right. Yeah, it makes me think of how do we use technology to improve and help us connect better when we do have those live conversations, right? Kevin O'Brien, would you be interested in commenting on that? What's the most important skill you think SEs need in our current world?
I mean, I agree with Julie's comment there, but if you add to it, the other thing is pre-sales are, essentially there for their expertise. And I think a big challenge is how do you continually stay on top of the industry and the solutions you're out there. So I don't know if it's a skill so much as a characteristic, but I think people need to be continuously curious and want to do that whole lifelong learning and know how to stay abreast of product.
And continually learning. Great. Well, there's a lot we could say on any of these. We could have a whole panel just on each of these topics. So I want to jump into the next question. What are your thoughts or guidelines for demo environments? Let's get this one over to Peter.
Sure. So, we could write an article on that. I'll come back to that in a moment. So one of the first things to contemplate is to not use the word demo in your demo environment. Does anybody know why? If you do, type it into the chat dialog box. The rest of the panelists can be just a hush for a second. See if anybody comes up with this. Yes, exactly, because the customer translates the word demo to mean it's fake, it's not real. So first suggestion, sanitize your demo environment. Get rid of anything that is obviously fake or unreal, including the word demo, including the names of clearly unreal, actors, football players, and so on and so forth. I'm going to offer a second idea, and this is a mini story. So just last week, I was watching a prep demo from a potential customer. And at the end of the demo, I said, can you give me some examples of some of the reports that you, when you were a customer, and she was, used to pull or pull out of the system? And she says, what do you think she said? Type into your chat dialog box. Yeah, she said, nope, I don't have any of those. and I sort of shockingly said, but why? You were a customer. Anyway, the point is, you've got to have a realistic demo environment. In fact, the best demo environments are real live customer environments that are effectively just being run as if you were a customer. Your demo environment is a customer. I'll stop there. There's a few other things, but let's let some of the other panelists comment in here.
Okay, who else would like to jump in on this? We'll take one additional comment here. Go ahead, Don.
One little thing, which is that the other thing is people put demo data together where it all looks fantastic. The top tip is make something go wrong. Make something go wrong, and that has a challenge to the business, and where you can actually search it, go through it and try and solve it. That's what people want to use it. They don't want to use your tech for everything working properly. They want to use it for things going wrong.
Love it.
Yeah, you've got to have problems, opportunities, and exceptions. Problems that need to be worked and solved, opportunities that need to be explored, and exceptions that need to be, well, discovered, if you will.
Great. Yeah, the demo environments, that's always a big challenge. Those are really good suggestions. Thank you. The next question. This question is about technical training versus soft skills training. We get a lot of technical training for our sales engineers. We get approval for that, but every time we try to go and get approval for soft skills training, people are saying, well, what's the ROI on that? And how do we get these professional soft skills? Do you have any ROI studies or recommendations on how to convince, say, VP of sales and enablement to do soft skills? So, John Kerr, how about you take that one?
Yes, right here. Not that this was a pre-planned question. Yes, so it's a very common question that we are asked, and I just say one here. The results are usually so phenomenal with ROIs that are thousands and thousands of percent that you're actually embarrassed to use the study. I have one here we did with one of my clients, and they figured out they were getting an $880,000 gain per sales engineer from putting them through a full professional skill study. And they said, that's too high. No one's going to believe it. We'll chop it in half and take a little bit off, and we'll say it's 350,000. Interestingly enough, about 2 weeks later, McKinsey came in and offered to do a study of the sales organization, charge my client potentially $6 million to tell them how their sales reps could make an additional $400,000 a year. And so you look at some simple professional skills training that everyone on this call does, against this huge management consulting sales process study. It's a no-brainer. I'm happy to share these. I know that Don and Peter and Julie have these things as well. I know Kevin's got some stuff internally. SAP have a fantastic process that they do in their academy. It's a no-brainer. It's a very short-sighted thing from VP of sales.
Great, thank you. And it reminds me of Julie's comment about what is most important in the current world, and gaining those skills that maybe aren't technical. So I think it's really important. Any other comments on how to persuade sales leadership to bring in soft skill trainers or invest in that side of the learning and development?
I would just add that we certainly all have great success stories, or we wouldn't be in business very long. But a more, I guess, neutral source, and there's a lot of them out there, would be, for instance, someone like Gong, who does a lot of analysis of online demos and sales calls. And just one example, they found that in closed deals, webcams were used 41% more often than in deals that were lost. Now, what that tells me is that's a soft skill, because the turning on your camera has nothing to do with your technology, your product, the technical training you've had. It's all about how you're connecting with that customer. So there's a lot of other studies out there that I think support the need for soft skills.
Yes, I never ever call them soft skills. I call them professional skills.
That's a great point.
Don knows this.
Good luck with that. Don't try and make that a thing, John.
Oh, it is. I've convinced so many of my clients to do that. It's much easier to get money internally if you ask for professional skills funding than soft skills funding. Soft, it's squishy, it's fudgy, and
you can just lie about the title. Just
move
call
on.
It, we're going to learn Linux core programming or something, and then do something on soft skills. So let's go on to the next question. What can we do to help reluctant sales engineering teams adopt a more agile digital pre-sales approach and mentality? So just like any new technology, any new approach, there's going to be early adopters, mainstream adopters, laggards, and so on. What can we do to help these reluctant teams catch the vision and get in earlier maybe than they would naturally? Kevin, would you like to tackle that one?
Yeah, and so it's interesting. This was also the first bullet I talked about in the keynote when we got to whatever. But this is definitely one of the most difficult challenges we ran into when we started down this digital approach. Was that I kind of boil it down. You can take multiple approaches. One is that try to find the win-win, the flanking strategy. There's a lot of things in there to save people time, make them more effective. And try and show them that they can personally use it. It's not going to replace them. The other one is the Kodak example I shared. Like, look, you can get in front of this or it's going to get you. But the last one, I just heard it. Brian Oling just did a session and I thought it was fantastic. He mentioned a sales rep who came to him in our environment and said, look, L is going to freeze over before I ever use any of these digital assets. I'm a face-to-face person. And you can go watch the video if you haven't heard it. And his slide was hell froze over. That the woman who did that came back to him and said, look, I see it. And it got back to a comment Julie made, which is she was seeing people be successful at this. And if they see success, they're eventually going to come on board. So I think that's one of the key things is find the win-win, find other people who are successful.
Drive success as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Good. One other comment on this: how do we drive adoption on digital pre-sales?
So I talked about the fact that it's almost a generational thing, this is, which is that people coming into the workforce, they can digital natives, we'll call them that. I don't know, that's a kind of misused term, but they're very happy to kind of use chatbots and kind of, video, go and check out YouTube, consume video and do their own research rather than things like actually telephoning people, that, whoa, dear, I wouldn't want to do that. I'd rather kind of, text them or kind of WhatsApp them. So I think almost at the risk of being, what's the expression, male, stale and pale, I think it's my generation that are probably stopping, putting some resistance up. I think people who are kind of a lot earlier in their career don't have any problem with this at all. Is that fair?
Yeah, I love it. And I think I've got another question for you, Don. It's kind of related. And it goes back to what we were talking about a little earlier, but with all the automation that's happening, what's the future of SE profession? We're in this really pivotal inflection point, especially as Kevin mentioned, with the pandemic really forcing everybody's hand to have to deal with digital pre-sales in one way or another. What's the future of the SE profession?
Do you know, John, I'm going to go with what John said earlier there, which is the future is really bright. If you love the kind of client interaction part of it, if you get a real buzz, advising people, that kind of human interaction where they, you seem credible and knowledgeable, you can build rapport with people, and they're kind of absorbing that and asking your advice about, what should we do? How should we kind of, move into the future, do this transformation? And, that's a real buzz to do that. And if you enjoy that, the world is your oyster, because in my session, we were talking about we're moving in a world where there's an amalgam of kind of customer success, sales and pre-sales are just getting closer and closer together, because it's all about the consultative approach. And why segregate it? But that has to be a salesperson, that has to be pre-sales, and that's customer success because it's after the sale. The buyer doesn't see it that way at all. As far as they're concerned, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. Given in the interest of time, I want to handle one more question, kind of a pre-planned question, and then we'll jump into ad hoc questions. And this one I'm going to start with for Julie. What are your thoughts about diversity within the sales engineering profession, or maybe the lack of it?
Why are you starting with me?
Gee, I don't know. I just somehow
male, stale, pale.
I know, that was the best lead-in ever, man. Yeah. Wrote it down. Male, stale, pale.
I did as well.
Wait. Okay. What's the female equivalent of that?
I don't know.
Let's be fair.
There's not enough of us to have one.
Good answer.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so many studies show that having diversity in the workplace means you have a more successful workplace, and I know that there's very few people that would dispute that, and yet many companies, and certainly some industries more than others, have a group of SEs that looks much like this panel. And I don't begrudge that, because I think that's based on who was there first, and we tend to hire people that replicate success. And certainly many companies are doing a lot of efforts to change that. However, I am really encouraged by the number of, and I'll just talk about, gender diversity, because that's what I'm most familiar with. I'm most encouraged by the number of women pre-sales leaders that I'm seeing and meeting out there. And they're getting greater recognition, and the more visibility they get, the more other women can see the career path. And so I think just nurturing that and supporting those efforts is really important for everyone. I also think it's been a culture issue, and especially in many enterprise organizations, just that sales culture has not always been conducive to having women. And I think that that's been changing, although it's a little bit like moving a big tanker around, so it may be slower in some organizations than others. But I would say that with so many people working remotely, and that likely being continued as we go forward, that culture is not going to be as much of an issue, and may bode well for diversity being a little simpler to achieve.
Yeah, great comments on that. Anybody want to mention one more thing about diversity before we move into the ad hoc question section?
I can give you a little bit of data. So this is something that we keep track of within my company and larger organizations we deal with. And right now we're running at about 8.3% is the diversity for female sales engineers. And that number fortunately is slowly climbing. The number is actually higher in SE leadership, as Julie said, which I think is phenomenal. That kind of sets a goal for folks coming in the industry. And my oldest daughter, her very first job out of college was as a sales engineer, and she was the first SE ever in her company, who was a woman. And the barriers that she had to go through were phenomenal. That really brought it home for me. Totally got it. And it's not for lack of trying, I think, in a lot of companies. Then there's the built-in biases. I mean, I've worked this last year to try and get the phrase "you guys" out of my repertoire. I mean,
we need something that represents every, more inclusive there.
Yeah.
Well, great. That's a great additional data point there. We're going to jump into the questions from the audience. So thank you, all of you panelists, for answering so far. I'm going to just pull these in and kind of lob these around to you. So the first question is, for someone relatively new to pre-sales, what is the top thing that you wish you had known when you started? So Peter, what would you say about that?
It's been so long ago. Are you kidding? Probably the first thing that I would have wished I had known is that salespeople were not evil.
I love it.
I learned that, as I think many have. There are the huge preconceptions about pre-sales versus sales. The scales fully fell from my eyes when I was swindled into a sales role for a number of years. I guess I'm still in sales. But when I found myself carrying a bag, I suddenly realized there's a lot of work in this job. It's not all, fun and games, if you will. So that's probably the thing that I would have wished I had known earlier.
Okay, great. We'll leave it at that for now. We're going to jump into the next question to answer as many of these as
It was 1983.
Yeah, well, I'm impressed you can remember back that far. Good job.
It wasn't 1883.
All right, next question. When hiring the next-gen sales engineer, what skill sets should we be most on the hunt for? Let's ask John this one.
So there's still the standard ones that apply around attitude, and Don in his presentation talked about that mix that we have as sales engineers between the technical side, the business side, and the professional side. I think that's still relevant. Obviously, what you're also looking for is someone who just brings in a fresh look and fresh technology and all the different ways that we now have of going to market. back when I started, back in Peter's day of 1983, I threw 9-inch magnetic tapes in the back of my car and drove to a customer site and begged with an IBM mainframe systems program to install my software. Right? That's not the case anymore. So understanding really how to integrate all the modern technology and the platforms and the streams and communications I think we have with a customer is now up there, along with attitude and professional skills and technology skills. You still have to talk tech, and you still have to talk business and bridge the two. It's the backing, the foundation underneath that.
Great.
When I was back at a company called Symix last century, we had a mini epiphany with respect to hiring, interviewing sales and pre-sales folks. And I'll just get to the chase. In addition to the normal interview and asking somebody to do a presentation, we had people do a discovery call based on whatever technology they knew, because that told us whether or not they were actually also good at doing discovery and having conversations, as opposed to simply presenting and telling.
Great, great. All right, we're going to jump to the next question. What tips do you have for handling a negative Nelly in a pre-sales meeting? Presumably this means you're in a pre-sales conversation, either a demo or a discovery or some kind of consulting conversation. You've got several stakeholders, and one of them is a negative Nelly, or whatever you want to call it, negative person. Well, let's go to Kevin on this one.
Yeah, these are all challenging, but I think in the end, it's you try to give them as little airspace as they can get throughout the meeting, but you've obviously got to address it up front. And I think you engage others in helping you provide the answers, right? So they come up with things, but really pass it out to the audience, get them to share, get them involved in the conversation.
Great, thank you. Julie, what would you say on that one?
I was just thinking, it certainly depends who that negative Nelly is, because if it's your decision maker, that's a little more challenging than somebody in the audience.
Right.
It has to be handled very gently, as in any case it would be. But it also depends the form that it's in. If it's negative in the sense that they're throwing out a lot of questions that are trying to trip you up or throw you off your game or make a competitor look better, that can be handled very succinctly by parking that in a way that reframes it and saying, that's a great question. And I think if they say you're just, why are you guys so expensive? And, parking and saying, well, it sounds like you have a question about value. Let me write that down.
Yeah,
We'll
reframe.
get back to it.
No politician thing.
And if they do it enough, they start to kind of get the idea, and hopefully other people in the room, will also, they tire of that as well. And sometimes they will self-police that whole situation and tell Joe to pipe down.
Yeah, that's great. I'll throw out one comment on this, and that is try to preempt it. Preemptive strike. Try to know ahead of time what the negativity is going to be and address it right up front if it's possible at all. Okay, moving on. Got a lot to cover here. Does the pre-sales role differ when you consider working for a startup versus a mid-sized company versus a large Fortune 500 company? And maybe this is a yes or no question, but maybe expound on maybe what you think the differences are. Don, let's have you tackle that one.
Okay, yeah. I've actually been in that role all the way from a startup where I was the only pre-sales person up to SAP, where you have to specialize and segregate, and you got different, as Kevin's nodding away there, larger organizations with solution sets and go to markets and different segmentation, specialists, generalists, there's a lot to it. In kind of larger companies, in a startup, you have to do everything. You're probably even the marketing department and product management. You're lucky actually to be for them to realize that there is a role for a pre-sales person, because a lot of companies will leave that defining that role until kind of very late, because a lot of time you're seen as a cost to the business. You have to really establish the value that you've got, because you may have been like a consultant, someone who's been out in the field with a chargeable rate, and they've kind of been pulling you off that, and you got a whole catalogue of excuses. I remember doing that. I think my grandmother died 3 times just on one client, as an excuse to go and do a demo somewhere else. It worked out in the end. But
That was
pretty.
Your poor grandmother.
That was the old Siebel Systems trick. Yeah.
But you've got to do, you've got to all expansive. You've got to be product management. You're probably doing partner marketing. It's an eye opener. Doing it in small companies, I would, never have missed out on that opportunity to do that.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on to another question here. These are all great. We got so many questions coming in. There's no way we're going to get to all of them, but this is great to get at least some response. Okay, the next one is, what's your top pre-sales gadget apart from Consensus?
Don?
Mine is, this is not mine, but this is Adam. It says, mine is my Logitech Spotlight presentation remote. We all love a great gadget. So let's just quickly go around and just say, without too much expounding, what your favorite gadget is. John Kerr first.
An awesome fine pen stylus I can use as Mr. Whiteboarding guy. So this is
Great.
what I use on my iPad to draw.
Okay.
Don't use a mouse, don't use a finger, get a stylus.
Stylus. Peter Cohen.
Too many. Whatever
One.
prop is available. I like my Incrispinator.
Incrispinator. Love it. Okay, Don.
Ditto to what John, exactly the same tools.
Okay.
Actually a whole set of pens as well, because
Yes.
I'm into doing my sketching.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I love chisel pens.
Oh, nice. Julie?
Oh my gosh, I would say a good webcam, because that's where all the action is. And if you can't quite see your eyes, or it's all, it's so dark, and most of those webcams, they're in the laptops just aren't up to snuff.
Okay, great. And Kevin?
Yeah, I think those are good gadgets. I think it's a little bit of knowing how to use those gadgets in these days, particularly how to best use Zoom.
Okay, yeah, being able to use Zoom effectively. By the way, that leads me to the next question, which is, what 2 to 3 things should we be doing differently in remote demos versus in person? And instead of actually answering that one, I'm just going to say we had an entire pre-sales panel on this subject called Remote Pre-Sales Strategies. That you can find the recording of that on our website at goconsensus.com in the resources area. So we'll just leave that one there because there's a lot to say to that. Okay, a couple more questions before we wrap up here. This one is, I think, a really great strategic question. Any good strategies or approaches for getting young talent to stick with pre-sales as a long-term career? Let's go to Kevin first on this one.
Wow. No, I actually was hoping you'd go to the other panelists, because I'm looking for good ideas in this area.
Oh, okay.
No, I would say at SAP, we do have a onboarding program. John mentioned it. We call it the Academy. And I do think it's one of the things I wish I had when I started in it. Peter talked about some of his pains, but to get people comfortable with the role, knowing industry, knowing the different lines of business, and you've got to onboard them softly to get there. But it's a difficult challenge because even transitioning them into their first business and being with the veterans, it's a tough thing to compete in.
Yeah,
good. Can you restate the question?
Yeah, it's really what approaches or strategies can we use to help younger pre-sales people stick around and make it a long-term career, people that are just getting into it?
Make it a long-term. Move them after they've had a few years, let's say 3 to 5 years perhaps, steeping away in pre-sales. Encourage them to actually move out of pre-sales and see other departments and other pieces of the business, so they get much more of a 360-degree perspective, and then bring them back in, because they will have a much broader set of experiences to draw from and a different set of perspectives.
I like that, getting a wider view as well.
Sorry, Garen. I'd say, borrowing one of Peter's phrases, which is a bit of shameless self-promotion. In the SE Manager's Handbook here, we talk about a concept called RADAR, which stands for Recruit, Attract, Develop, Advance, and Retain. And the develop, advance, and retain is critical to keeping people on a path and staying as sales engineers. So to build on Peter's point, there's a phase of being an SE where you've been in the job for about a year and a half, and one where you've been there for about 5 years, where you're likely to wander out and you need new challenges. So that's kind of one of the key points. Whereas SE leadership, you need to keep the the intake that you have, motivated, challenged, be learning things, I know generationally opportunities for collaboration, for travel, whatever you do, and tailor it individually. Even large orgs like Kevin at SAP and Oracle do some customization and tailoring of a development plan for each and every SE.
Yeah.
To get in, because we are such valuable resources. Why would you want to lose us for someone else if you didn't have to?
Yep. Well, great comments on that question. We're going to take one more question. I'm going to pass this one over to Julie. As we are moving towards more virtual selling, how can we establish trust while meeting customers over camera? Trust builds strongly when met in person. So any thoughts on this would be much appreciated.
Sure. Well, I just did a whole hour on that yesterday, but which you're welcome to watch. So here, just a quick tip. One of the things that really quickly builds trust and builds a relationship is eye contact. So if you can quickly establish eye contact and you can establish natural eye contact, which is different on camera than it is in person, because oftentimes we're not looking at the person's picture. So learning how to connect with that customer through the camera, there's some techniques around that I won't have time to go into right now, but that's really the window to your customer and how to connect with them as closely as possible to replicate that in-person experience.
Well, that's great comment, and I think for this person who asked the question, feel free to go get the recording of Julie's session. All these recordings of all the sessions of DemoFest are going to be posted in the Scaling Pre-Sales and Sales Engineering LinkedIn group, so make sure to go out and join that group. John, if you could at some point post that link in again to the group. By the way, I forgot to mention that we need to, we've put a stop to the number of people that can join the raffle. We're going to move into wrapping up with the raffle, wrapping up the conference. We've got a lot of giveaways from different presenters, from Consensus, and some exciting, I think, interesting hardware that we're giving away as well. So I'm going to turn the time over to John for this portion, and then we'll just wrap up the conference here, right? Hopefully near the top of the hour.
All right, fantastic. Some really great material there, guys. I really appreciate it. We all at Consensus really appreciate just the fantastic content and expertise that you guys bring. As we get into, let's give away our stuff. So we're going to start small and move up. So we've got, I know everybody was waiting for this one, but we do have a water bottle on offer.
Wait, John, can panelists enter?
Not for the water bottle. That's that. We're saving that one for just, you know, the high rollers in the audience. So, all right. So Pat, whoa.
I think you may need to refresh the.
Yeah, I think I do.
The slide deck.
That's it, because Patio Furniture won that one. So. All right, so let's see. We got a presentation here.
So we had Anna in the background is running random functions in Excel and updating the slide deck for the drawing. So
we have just a little bit of background on this. We have something that we use in the company often. We call it the Dream Crusher, because it'll put everybody's name on there, and you get to watch your name drop off as, you know, as the person is randomly selected.
Dream Crusher.
And so we run it weekly.
Yep.
All right. So
crushing dreams.
That's right. All right, Judson Fisher, thanks for joining the session. We're going to send you a water bottle.
Bravo.
All right, moving through to the always fashionable Consensus snapback hat.
Ooh.
The winner of the hat is Eric Paper.
Great.
Or Papier. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You can go to your next pre-sales engagement in style.
That's right. These are nice
But
t-shirts,
wait, there's more.
But wait.
But wait.
All right. And we've got a t-shirt going out to Eric Long. Thanks for joining, Eric Long. Woohoo!
Nice.
Eric is celebrating.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
What size?
You have to be present to win.
You have to
All
be
right.
present to win.
Rob Falcone, if you missed Rob Falcone's session, I highly recommend you check out the recording of it. Did some really fantastic stuff. He's offering a digital copy of Just Effing Demo, which he calls the intentionally short introduction and description pre-sales strategy guide. So Just Effing Demo is going to, the copy is going to Rebecca Phillips.
Nice.
All right.
Gonna go, Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca. And Kevin O'Brien, an hour of consulting includes understanding what you're trying to achieve and giving feedback on how to be successful. Now, wow, that's pretty crazy. So congratulations to Shem Best.
Shem Best. Nice. And by the way, Anna
how do
will
I
be
get one of
reaching
those?
out by email, so you know how you get all of these prizes.
That's right. That's right. You'll all be getting emails with further instructions right after this. So, all right, John Kerr, the Sales Engineer Manager's Handbook and a Coaching Mentoring Session with John Kerr. Okay, I want that one too. But I don't get it because Hashim Alvi and Branch Smith both got that. So congratulations, guys.
Yay.
Very cool. All right, we've got a consensus Bluetooth speaker. This can help in presentations and just chill in beachside. And the consensus Bluetooth speaker is going to Michael Gutierrez.
Yay.
Thanks for coming, Michael. And all right, Chris White of Demo Doctor is offering a free registration to the 6 Habits of Highly Effective Sales Engineers online course. So again, so talking about training up and tooling up in a lot of these, what are we calling them? Not soft skills, professional skills? Is that what we're
Absolutely.
All right. And this course is going to Darren Reddies. Thanks for joining, Darren.
Nice.
Hope you get a lot out of that course. And Peter Cohen. What's Peter Cohen offering? A demo review session. Dang. All right.
Valuable.
Second prize is 2 demo review sessions, so take it as it is.
Careful
All
what
right.
you ask for.
So a session with Peter Cohen, Amy Cuevas, and Namita Yeshwant. Thanks so much for
Nice.
joining, guys. You're going to get a lot out of that.
Just be prepared. Peter speaks bluntly, but it's very helpful.
That's right. What are you thinking?
Just put on your body armor before you call him up.
Hey,
No,
hey, hey,
no,
be nice, be
no.
nice.
Gentle.
No, it's great stuff.
So consensus portable charger, very useful once again, beachside for DJ Lariche. I need to practice these names before I jump on, just to make sure I know how to pronounce them. All right, so copy of Selling is Hard, Buying is Harder. So this is a copy of Garen's upcoming book on buyer enablement. If you want to learn how to kind of flip the script on your sales methodology, this is going to be fantastic. So upcoming
I got to make a note on that. This is a terrific read. When it comes out on Amazon, read it.
All right.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate
Thanks,
it. And
Peter.
thank you for pre-reading it. That was helpful.
All
My
right, Rhonda
pleasure.
Bednar and Varun Taneja. Thanks. Question, is it signed?
I'm going to sign it.
All right.
It'll be worth millions.
All right, so we got a swag bundle we want to throw out there too, which actually
Everything
includes one
consensus.
of each.
You can go to the
Things that we've
beach,
given away so far.
listen to music, and
John, you have a strong beach theme going here.
Yeah.
Did I mention where I was casting from? So. All right.
Art
Whoa.
Deco.
Did we actually
Art
give this to
Deco.
anybody?
I was sitting there thinking, that
Yeah,
sounds familiar for some reason.
Yeah. If this is somebody's actual name and I'm giving Hannah a hard time, I really apologize.
Maybe refresh that one.
All right. So we're gonna.
It's my nom de plume.
Jason, that's my nom de plume.
All right.
Awesome.
So.
Let's try it again.
Nice
Yeah, we
job.
have to come back to that one.
Good job.
All right, we're coming back to that one. Okay. And let's try this again. This one is
Drum roll,
going to
please.
Heather Levan.
Wow.
All right, not Art Deco. Heather,
Hopefully you like
Congratulations.
consensus, Heather.
snake that away
Otherwise,
from
you're gonna have
Art at the last minute.
Yeah, you got a lot of logo wear there.
All right, Don Carmichael is giving away 2 winning skills video-based demo coaching sessions. So awesome. So Don, you're going to be working with Paul Yeoman and Eiley Herrera. Thanks for coming,
Nice.
guys. That's really fantastic. So the smart Wi-Fi mini projector and the portable
Ooh.
tabletop screen.
This is from Consensus. I just have to say I'm excited about
Nice.
this one. I've tried this Nebula projector. Have not tried the pull out,
Oh.
but go on site. Have you ever been on site where you have no way to project? You're like holding up your laptop. Here's how it is. Hopefully this will help with that.
And this one's a really cool little device. It's about the size of a soda can. And
Yep.
It's heavy little, awesome little
1080p
gadget.
native support as well.
That's right. And that is going to Carson Garrett.
Carson, lucky.
Woo!
Thanks for entering, Carson. All right, Julie. And I apologize. When I introduced Julie, I introduced her as the author of Acting for Sales. That's actually her blog. But
No, that's also a book, so you're okay.
Okay.
You're okay.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that.
We
I was
moved on. We're good.
I totally tripped up.
We're all
Sorry
good.
about that, Julie. So, all right, so we're getting 1 seat of the full video course
Wow, nice.
for selling on-camera programs. So it's usually $197. So includes 10 self-guided videos, exercises, on-camera resource to guide and cheat sheet rather. All right, drum roll, please.
Does it come with a clapboard?
It does not. That's
Oh.
next level.
That would be pretty.
That's $297.
Fair enough.
Technically called a slate, so that's one to
Oh.
add in for the future. So Galen Slaybo.
Hey, Galen.
Galen.
Congrats,
Hey.
Galen. That's going to be
Set that
fantastic.
up.
All right, and Wacom small Intuos Pro Pen and tablets. So I know
Whiteboarding.
John
Yeah.
just gave a big session on whiteboarding, and so these are actually the standard in the art community, so they get a nice stroke on when you're doing your whiteboarding. And that's going to Travis Sanders.
Nice.
And we got a congrats for Galen. All right, Travis, thanks for entering. I hope you enjoyed that one. And do we have another? Oh,
This is the last one, I think.
I think this is the last one. So this is a
premium
swag bundle
product.
that actually includes access to the Consensus platform and 25 licenses for 90 days. So if you're
Ooh.
interested in demo automation and you want to see if it's something that you can implement as quickly and easily as some of the people who've presented at DEMOFEST, then this is the one for you. All right.
Nice.
So that's a $12,500 value for the licenses and probably about the same for the swag, I would
Ooh.
imagine.
Yeah.
At least.
At
We
least
didn't
that for
include
the
that.
swag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and drum roll, please.
Answer is
Vicky Papesh.
Papesh.
Vicky, thanks
Nice.
so much for coming out.
Congrats.
This is
Right.
exciting.
Good stuff.
Well,
All
great. Well,
right.
thank you, John.
You bet. I'm going to turn that back over to Garen to close this out.
Yeah, and there should be one more slide
Oh.
in there. Right there. That's the one I want. So first of
All
all, I just wanted to remind everybody we didn't charge a dime for this conference, and it's been fantastic. Thank you for all the presenters. But our main objective was to invite you, if you can, I know times are a bit rough right now, but if you can, to donate something to some organization in need, or maybe it's an individual in need. In lieu of a registration fee, we'd just like you to think about people around you that might be in need, organizations in need. We made a donation to the Community Action Services and Food Bank. We did a service project for them at Christmas time a couple of years ago. So just put that up there so that maybe give you ideas about organizations that you might be able to donate to. So thank you again. Yeah, and we can go to the next slide there, John. Just again, thank you to for all the participants, all the attendees, for joining DEMOFEST 2020. We plan to do this every year. It's been wonderful. I've learned a lot. I can't wait to watch some of the sessions I wasn't able to attend. And it's been fantastic to just see the interaction with many people putting things in chat. And we really had participation from all over the world. And we have many people that want to watch the recordings from different parts of the world. We're fielding lots of questions about that. So again, just want to congratulate all the presenters and also just express our admiration for all of you in pre-sales. You do such important work. I would argue it's the most important role in the go-to-market strategy for any company because you're servicing multiple sales reps and you have to be highly skilled in both technical and soft/professional skills. And so I hope that this helps raise awareness and community. At Consensus, we're hoping to continue to provide content, help bring people to a sense of community in this profession. And we've just really enjoyed it. Hope you all have too. So that's it. We appreciate everybody and hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. And we'll see you all online and hopefully in the LinkedIn group, for example. So have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Okay. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you all. Thanks so much,
Thank you all.
Karen.
Bye-bye.
That's awesome.